A review of the Nubia Z70s Ultra Photographer Edition. I'm Chris Viola, and let's take a look at this photographer's camera and see if it's good for actual photographers.
Them tell me you're hugging up a big cameraman. I never heard you, I only saw you hugging up the big cameraman. I never heard you, I only saw you hugging up the big cameraman.
Here's the Z70s Ultra Photographer Edition. This has got the full retro kit on it, and that's the hand grip that you see, plus the wrist strap. There's a couple things I'd like you to see here. It has a full two-step camera button, which is just like the ones on your high-end mirrorless and DSLRs. Excellent. Half press gets you autofocus and exposure, and the rest takes the shot. It also has a T-mount on here, and we'll get back to that at a certain point. It looks very much like a normal smartphone from this angle. I do like the metal tops and bottoms that the retro kit brings. You can see the camera button folds nicely underneath. Pressing on it brings the camera right up. Giving it half press, you can see that the exposure blocks are up, and then giving it a full press, and you get a shot. Now, the hardware in here is absolutely top-notch, and let me show you some photos, and you can kind of get the idea of what this hardware is capable of. So you can see from this side, the phone looks very cool, very very Leica-ish, very photography-ish, but, none of that is worth anything if it's not usable as a cell phone, too. I mean, it has to be a smartphone, not just a smart camera that pretends to be a phone. On this side, you can see the screen is roughly about the same size. I think it's a 0.2 of an inch smaller than the iPhone 17 Pro Max, or whatever the giant one is called here. It's roughly the same size as all the top of the line larger phones from Apple and Samsung and Google and Xiaomi and all the rest. Obviously not a foldable. So, but the real question is, and I guess the real concern anytime you're buying a phone from overseas, and I mean, it's I shouldn't say overseas in these days. It ships from the United States. It's sold in the United States, and so there's no questions about shipping or tariffs or any of that craziness here. But the question is, what's the compatibility? Now, I'm using it on T-Mobile, and I will say that on T-Mobile, it's been fantastic, frankly. I did get a warning when I first set it up that it wasn't completely compatible with T-Mobile. It turns out that it only supports like 327 of T-Mobile's 328 5G bands. But other than that, I have not had a problem with it, and it's been as fast as anything here. You could see, here's me running a hot, let's see, this is a T-Mobile test. Straight on this T-Mobile network. Wi-Fi is turned off. I just got I think 157 megabits per second down a few minutes ago. Let's see what we get now here. And again, I'm inside in the house, so only 27 that time. That's pretty slow for this setup. Anyway, let's see what we get here. Well, I guess I moved to a slower part of the house here. I got 157 in the other room, of course, testing it out, and then I came back here. And then, of course, on Wi-Fi, the results are as fast as you can expect with anything else. So it's got the latest and greatest hardware. It's the same Snapdragon chip that you find in the top-of-the-line Samsung and Google and other Android phones at this point. It's every bit as fast as my daughter's brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max, or whatever, Pro Ultra, I forget what they're calling theirs now. Their biggest ones. It's all in all, it's a terrific phone. Runs normal Google Play support, Google Store support, so every app you can think of is available here. So, yep, as a phone, it's a phone. Works just as well as anything else and should be good to go for years. One other thing I do think is really important to mention is that this is one of the few phones now that has the newest leap in battery technology. That has the new silicon carbon batteries in them. They're much greater energy density than lithium ion batteries. And from what I'm seeing so far, the leap here is just as great from lithium ion as lithium ion was from the nickel batteries that they had before that. You really stop thinking about battery life with this. It's the better part of 2 days with battery life. In fact, it's so good with the battery life that and also it charges so quickly. I plugged it in. It was down to 14%, and I only let it charge up to 80% to keep the battery to have as long a life as possible in terms of years of service. And 31 minutes from 14% to 80%. That quick. So, occasionally it will beep, say it's to 20%. I'll plug it in for 15 or 20 minutes and it'll be 70 to 80%. Pull it off the charger and away I'll go for another day or two. Why isn't this kind of battery available from Apple and Samsung and the other big vendors yet because we don't know what it's going to be like for a long-term life. But after 2 months, pretty spectacular, I'll say that. So far so good, but this is another one where we won't know for 3 to 5 years what the long-term life expectancy of these batteries is compared to lithium-ion. So it's a phone, it's a terrific phone, and let's move on to the real question, which is, how is it as a camera? When I do camera or lens reviews, I do try to show you some good shots, but I also try to show you something besides, here are the best pictures from shots taken under the best conditions. That's why you saw some of those shots in the video just before this were directly into the sun with some flare and available darkness and pitch black nighttime. I want to show you what the camera does under anything up to egregious to obnoxious conditions. But here I want to show you what the camera is really capable of when it's at its best. So here's a close-up shot taken with the main camera of that old car that I ran into at a barbecue joint. And this is a JPEG straight out of the camera. And as you can see, there is really just a ridiculous amount of detail in here for a JPEG from essentially a compact camera. But here's the really interesting thing. There's even more in the RAW file. Now notice that this is shooting DNG files, and which is great for a RAW format. That's since it's a standard, you don't have to worry about some odd standard imposed by the camera maker here. But there's just endless meat to these RAW files here. And what surprised me, I'm pleasantly surprised but not shocked that you would get this kind of quality out of the big camera. But here's a shot, a telephoto shot with the telephoto lens straight out of the camera JPEG. Again, just ridiculous amounts of detail. So let me show you here real quickly. This is, it helps if I click on the right thing. This is taken with the ultra-wide camera. And let me zoom in there for you. Again, terrific amounts of detail. And this is with the main camera. And here's the telephoto again. And all three of them really, with the Xperia Pro that I had previously, I shot 90% with the main camera because it was just so much better than the other two cameras. Here, I don't think that's the case. The main camera is as good as it gets, in my opinion, on a smartphone camera where you want to have control of what you're doing. And it's better than the other two, but not so much that I'm going to, use it in cases where I can use the extra length, for example, of the telephoto lens here. This is better than the main camera zoomed in, which was not true on the Xperia. While the hardware is top-notch, the software was clearly designed by a bunch of software nerds. They're my people, so I can make fun of them, but a bunch of software nerds who had once seen a movie about photographers. One of the crazy things is, not only do you have 10,000 modes here for no apparent reason, but the modes don't really match up. Notice here that you have focal lengths on the side like 18, 24, 35, 50, and 85. And you could switch to them, but that's all it does. But if I go to Pro mode, now I have different focal lengths, just the 18, 35, and 85, but clicking on them changes them. And there's a native 70 and a native 13 that can only be reached in Pro mode. At the same time, Black and white mode, which is a filter, can only be accessed in street mode, but I can't shoot black and white mode and 13mm native or 70mm native. I can only shoot those focal lengths in Pro. That makes no sense whatsoever. Another difference, which is just as annoying, is you'll notice here in Pro mode, I've got it set to underexpose by 1/3 of a stop, which is how I like to do digital cameras and slide film. But street mode, you cannot set that. It does not part of you can't set a permanent underexposure or overexposure. So what's the solution? Well, there's two. The Pro mode has everything with the exception, some of it is a little confusing to get to, but it does have everything with the exception of that black and white. The other, though, easy solution is to just use a third-party camera app. This is ProShot. It cost me $8. It's very good. You'll notice now I just have the native focal length. So the bottom line question is, after 2 months of using the Nubia Z70s Ultra Photographer Edition, would I buy it again? Absolutely yes, for a bunch of reasons. First of all, it's got high-end hardware for hundreds of dollars less than an iPhone 17 Ultra or the Samsung Galaxy Ultra current version number is, or even the giant Google Pixel phone. You're well hundreds of dollars under $1,000 here, where those are hundreds over $1,000. It's got, frankly, the same hardware as the rest of those Android phones, as good or better than any of them there, all the latest stuff. It's jammed with RAM and storage. It has great cameras in it. Is the camera software a bit wacky? Yeah, it is, but that's not a deal breaker. And at the end of the day, the real thing is, this camera allows me to shoot the way I want to shoot without a lot of interference and AI functions that I can't turn off. There are a few in here, but I just turned them off, and that was the end of that. So, absolutely recommended. Thanks, and I hope you're having a great day and you enjoyed this video. Feel out!